do audio.
Was it also meter or?
No. December. The calendar doesn't follow the clock. I don't see anybody here. Here we go. Ismail's here. Robin, I don't know. He said he has to check out the hospital today. But I think there's more than that.
You have always.
Yeah, well, my students tell me I'm not kind.
You?
Yeah.
I don't think so. You are noble.
Well, so what am I supposed to do with Robin's grade if he doesn't do his 2 presentations?
He uploaded.
Just uploading.
A file is not a presentation.
What do you?
And he didn't do it last time either, did he?
He didn't. He just straightforwardly say no. I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah. So what's his grade gonna look like? So I'm not kind.
Because it's
You know, I being in the hospital, I give you a lot of space.
Yeah.
But he had no excuse for the time before.
Even he is my roommate in 2 other classes.
Professor,
Excuse me, Professor. Yeah, if you allow me, can I take the call from university because university is calling me? So can I?
Yes, take care of that. That's important. Okay, so he's fighting visa problems right now. So
we know it.
I don't know how much he's told you or not told you, but anyway, he called me a few minutes ago. All right, so because he has things to do with his visa, he asked it first or early. Okay, there's a couple chair.
So, well,
Ding dong. Hello.
he says to woke up.
Yeah, possibly. So
Microphone. His microphone is
it's on. Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. I'm also glad.
So you said you should check out of hospital today?
But sorry. Let me take my earphones.
I saw something forearm here.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
He's gone.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right. So anyway,
Professor, when you say I'm not kind, I'm just fed up of people that they are not doing anything, and at the end of the semester they got the same grade as I did.
not in my class.
How they can get.
Not in my class.
I don't know.
Not in my class.
He got help from other friends or maybe something.
Not in my class.
You also asked help from me, from another side.
Then,
I said no.
Asking help
I
like
don't have.
I need your help to solve this problem is good, but asking someone to do my whole work and then I just can present in
I
the
didn't explain anything. I said just no.
Okay, we're back.
no, and you didn't even bother to reply me.
Because I know his character. He several times.
No, I'm not.
Okay, we're back.
Not talking about you. But I text you, but you didn't even bother to reply me.
When?
When?
Don't.
Okay.
See you after the class.
Maybe more than. I wanted to ask you guys, what are your plans after class? We may finish early. What are your plans after class?
Not sure.
Not sure.
To go to home early and eat too much.
I was thinking about eat too much.
But I'm always hungry.
No. I was thinking about I have never been to a Uzbek restaurant.
So the
But you
treat
said
from
before
you is
here, try to go to a restaurant before New Year. So can you take it for you?
I'm asking.
yeah, we are okay. Maybe I wait for the sana. You know that.
Well, I'm not gonna, we'll talk about more later, but just as a possibility.
yeah.
Right. Robin, are you back? Pardon me?
What do you want to eat?
Maybe after
I don't know what
seeing the
are the choices.
Shashlik. Kebab.
Okay.
I mean, I know Turkish food, some Turkish food, I know some Russian food, but I don't know anything specific to Central Asia. You don't drink camel milk, do you?
Camel?
Going.
That's more Mongolia. I'm just saying, you know, there's these different things in various kind of around, but specific to Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, I don't know anything. I've never studied
In
anything.
some region of my country, people drink every day.
Camel milk. Yeah.
Camel
It's
You're on the Silk Road, so I guess it's possible, but I don't know the details. Robin, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So I thought you were supposed to check out today. Don't play with your phone, talk to me.
What?
You said you're supposed to check out today.
Check out what?
You told me in Cacao, maybe you will check out from hospital today.
Ah, discharge, right?
Yeah, look at this. Discharge.
Uh,
check out.
I don't mean check out and
I wanted, and the doctors also wanted, but we Sajangan wanted. Didn't want it. And some problems like and they solved it hopefully.
Okay, so
Like
anyway,
money related problems.
you're there for a few more days.
Not probably afternoon. Yeah. The professor, I have one question.
Okay.
The boss said that he pay for the Pyongwon fees, like hospital fees, all, and
Yeah.
then like Pekman should go.
Whatever, okay.
Like, and he's saying that if I'm not how to say satisfied with that, he will go to kind of like immigration or something like that. Like,
Okay, so say it again. He will pay what?
yeah, Pekman. Likely 1 million won.
That 1 million is your share?
Yes, some kind of a 10 days hospital fee and then 1 million.
I'm not able to talk about this. I don't have enough knowledge. If you need somebody to talk a lot more. I don't know what happened. I don't know who did what. I don't know if you're working legally. There are so many things that I can't comment on. I cannot help you on this unless I know a lot more. That's not something to do today. Okay. All right. So I have your PowerPoint file.
Yeah.
If you want to talk while I show your file, that's easy. Hold on a second. Ismail, you're back?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, and you said you need to be first and get out fast.
Yeah, because actually embassy and
Okay,
is
that's
universities
fine.
keep on calling.
Stop. It's a yes/no question. Please.
Yes.
You will make more friends if you talk less. So, I mean, that sounds really evil, but hold on a second. I need to open your file.
Yeah, it would be better if we see his.
I will do, I promise.
and
Okay,
see-
I will do, I promise. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to screen share the PowerPoint, and then you just tell me as you want things to advance. Follow me?
Okay.
All right.
So I can screen share with you.
That's more difficult. I would rather just click when you tell me advance. Hold on a second. Okay, you can see this?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. The, how can I say? The idea of full screen doesn't work very well in Zoom. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's better to show this way.
It's okay, Professor. I can do.
All right, so I will just advance as you tell me.
Yeah. If I will move to the next slide, I can tell you. Said you can. You can.
So the first slide, Ismail's going to talk about the economy of South Korea in the cosmetic industry. Go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Muhammad Ismail, and my topic of the presentation was the economy of South Korea in the cosmetic industry. So this is my first slide. I will give you the market overview of the cosmetic industry. So as you can see in my presentation slide, that South Korea is the 9th largest cosmetic market in the world, and it is representing nearly 2.8% of the global market. And in 2018, the market was estimated to be $9.3 billion, and the total local production and the total exports increased approximately about 14.7%, and which was 26.5% respectively from the previous year. As you can see in the table, that market has grown annually by 5.4% for the last 5 years, from year 2014 to year 2018. Meanwhile, the total imports of the cosmetics in 2018 roses up to 5.4% from 2017, which was valued at the $1.6 billion US dollars. And the US imports counted for 23.3 of the total imports on the country basis. France was at the $4.3 million, which was the largest exporter to the Korea in 2018, which was followed by the US, and it was approximately in the $3.80 million, and Japan has at $257 million. So, according to the Korea Customs Service statistics, skincare cosmetics continue to the largest import category, representing 47.8%, and 755 million of the total cosmetic imports in 2019. However, hair products 14.3%, and the makeup cosmetics was 13.8% counted for the next largest import categories. So next slide, I will proceed. This is about the GDP share status for the year 2020. So if you can look into the table given in the slides, this table is from the year 2011 to 2018. So there is a rise in the numbers of the cosmetic industry as in its percentage from the South Korea, and the numbers is increasing rapidly from every year. So from this data is from 2011 to 2018. So the numbers have been increased rapidly every year for the cosmetic industry. I will proceed to the next slide. So these are the major trends and the distribution channels which Korea has been working on. So this has been a growing demand for a new retail channels as the consumer demand is becoming increasingly more segmented. The market has reacted, making selected shops and multi-shops more prevalent in line with the trends. There are the three major: health and the beauty store, including Olive Young, Lavla, and Hopes, grew for 3 consecutive years, with the 1,356 stores in 2017, and in 2018 it was recorded 1,490 stores. However, the number has been reduced in 2019, which was recorded as 1,512. In addition, Sephora, the world's biggest cosmetic retailer, owned by LVMH Group, opened its first store in Korea in October 2019, and it has the featuring of the total 99 brands ranging from affordable to luxury. And by 2020, Sephora plans to open 14 more stores as the number has been increased rapidly. So the addition of these stores is expected to intensify the competition in the market with the major H&B stores and selected shops such as Chikar and Boots. So South Korea stands out of this country with the highest smartphone ownership, with the broadband rate of the fastest internet speed as well. So it is not surprising that the South Korea e-commerce channels are becoming increasingly popular for cosmetic products consumers. So sales via mobile shopping has increased what should I call, dramatically in the recent years. So according to the Korean National Statistical Office, cosmetic online shopping transactions grew up to the 25% year to year, and it was about approximately $10.5 billion, which was recorded in 2019. However, accounting for 59.4% of the total cosmetics online shopping. So the domestic cosmetic industry is actively using social network services, SNS, as a key tool in business for the development stage of the production of the sales and the customer flow. So I will proceed it to the next slide. So this one is regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies in South Korea. Uh, Cosmetics are regulated by the Ministry of Foods and Drug Safety. So cosmetics fall under the two categories: functional cosmetics and regular cosmetics. So functional cosmetics, which is previously comprised whitening, anti-wrinkle, and sunscreen and tanning products. They extended in 2017 to 10 categories of MFDS. And this includes the hair colorants, hair nutrients, and so on. And the cosmetic that help the protect damaged skin. MFDS only review the functional cosmetic of the pre-market approval. Uh, if I will talk about the regular cosmetic, the Korea Pharmaceutical Trades Association (CAPTA) has authorized by MFDS to review and certify import permission requests submitted by the Korean importers. Also, South Korea implemented by the Recycling Act in December 2019, which is applicable and impacts of all the products available in South Korea, including cosmetics. So under the implementation of US-Korea Free Trade Agreement in March 2012, tariffs on imported cosmetics were reduced, and the remaining Korean tariffs on imported US cosmetic will be eliminated by January 1, 2021. So I will proceed to the next slide. This is the opportunities and the challenges faced by the cosmetic industry in the South Korea, strong potential subsectors for the U.S. exporters to the South Korea includes cosmeticals and drama cosmetics. Cosmeticals is a cosmetic that has or claim to have the medicinal properties. Uh, for example, a product with the anti-aging property may be classified as a cosmetical. Korea domestical market was recorded about dollar 430 million in 2014, which was experienced as a 15% annual growth since reached to dollar 1 billion in 2019. So currently, the hottest trends are products that claim anti-pollution, anti-aging, and antioxidant related technologies. When it comes to ingredients, natural, organic, and pesticide ingredients are focused for attention of these days. Uh, two There are the two South Korean companies, Amor Pacific and LG Household and Healthcare, which dominate local production market. And in addition, Korea consumers are purchasing more products directly from overseas markets. Consumers can now buy foreign brands at the same prices as in the US, and increasing numbers of the brands are offering overseas shipping services. Overseas direct purchase represented more than $3 billion in 2019, which is up to 22.3% from the previous year. Uh, and if we talk about the clothes and the fashion, it is about 38.7%, and cosmetic is about 5.3%, which is popular among overseas online Korean buyers. So I will proceed to the next slide. Yeah, this one is the distribution channel for the cosmetic. So as you can see in the table, here is this one I get from the Euro Monitor Beauty and the Personal Care in the South Korea, which was recorded in 2017. So 25% of the products was from the retailers. However, the direct selling to the customers was approximately by 18%. However, the departmental stores was recorded about the 16%, and hypermarkets are 13%, and internet retailing was 9%. The consumers who buy the products from as a home shopping was 6%. Supermarkets has been recorded as 4%. So however, for matikis and drugstores are recorded as a 3%. So next slide. the These are my references, and next slide. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, stay with us, please. For each presentation, we have a presentation, and then we have a discussion. Before I start, I want to invite other people to comment or ask questions. He's here, he's teaching, his job is to educate you. What he taught you can be on your final test. So I want to make sure you understand the key points. Any questions from the room? Or Robin, any questions? Don't be shy.
Yeah. 잠시만요. Okay.
Yeah, Melissa, speak loudly, please. I can't hear the mic all the way.
May you share us information about Korean cosmetics level in the global industry of cosmetics? I mean, level of the Korea nowadays.
Professor, can you repeat her question because she is
Steve wants
it's
to know what is Korean cosmetics share in the global cosmetics market. Did you find that information?
yeah, Korean cosmetic was experienced 15% of the annual growth, which was about approximately $1 billion recorded in 2019.
Okay, but she's asking about global market share, which you don't have that in your PowerPoint, so you might not have the answer. But so all around the world, all the cosmetic sales, what percentage of that is Korean products?
The references, Professor, I could not find this information, but I only came to know that they have, as I told you earlier, that they have their growth increased to $1 billion in
Right,
2019.
okay, growth was not a question. I understand, it's a good question. It's not something he found. There's no minus points for not knowing, don't worry about that. It's a good question. Munisa, why don't you find out? And also, Ismail, why don't you find out? Each of you spend about 5 minutes looking for Korean share global cosmetics market. And if you find an answer, put it on the computer. Easy enough. You asked the question, so you have to be ready to help do the work. Any other questions? It's a good question.
So I have learned that which product is used for which reasons. He explained well. Type of the products.
Right, but his aim is not to describe cosmetics, but to describe the economics of cosmetics. So
Professor, in the pie chart.
in the pie chart, okay, hold on. Yeah. What's the question?
Home shopping. Like most of the people are now using the online shopping. So,
Okay, well,
online shopping.
well that would be internet retailing, right? So he says,
Retailing is same as same.
Farhan is asking what's the difference between home shopping and internet retailing, because he's thinking online shopping.
To the year in the book.
Yeah, it's the data is published 2017.
Yes.
That means it's 2016
In
data.
relation to the year.
Yeah, things have changed.
But still, the difference between the home shopping and the internet retailing. Retailing may be something.
Okay, so he's asking, do you know the difference? Can you explain the difference between home shopping and internet retailing?
Professor, I think internet retailing, in my opinion, internet retailing is the one we use from the website like in Pakistan we are using
Right,
like.
that's easy, but what is the home shopping?
And home shopping is.
If you don't know, you don't know. Don't guess. Teaching by guess is very dangerous. Your students find out you're guessing. If you don't know, say you don't know. It's okay.
So home shopping.
If you don't have the answer, you need to say, I don't know. That's all right. That's part of education. When you have your doctorate and you bullshit somebody at a conference, they will nail you on it, ruin your reputation. You have to say, I don't know. We don't have that information. My guess, and I'm telling you, I guess, home shopping means TV home shopping. Means those programs on cable TV. That's my guess, and then you call in. But that's a guess.
Or maybe the door-to-door selling.
It could be door-to-door salesman, but have you ever seen anybody door-to-door selling in Korea? I never have. I mean, there's people who sell like Tupperware or whatever who visit you in your office or whatever. That's mostly friends or office visitors. So it could be included, but we really don't know. We really don't know. This is a good chart. Well done for this. I thought it was really interesting when we looked at how they segment. Example, department store versus hypermarket. In US, we don't use the word hypermarket. when I came to Korea, I had to slowly learn what it means. And basically in Korea, it means Home Plus and E-Mart. Home Plus and E-Mart. There are a couple other smaller chains in Korea, but it means the super-sized stores, whereas department store sounds more luxurious. Right? So,
Professor, I found the answer of Farhan questions that he's asking home shopping and internet retailing. So I can found that online retailing is quite similar to the physical brick as a mortar retailer. Many large retailer stores includes both physical and online purchase option. However, the e-commerce involves electronic transactions, uh, but the difference is involves many other services which are not physical, such as marketing. So this one I found on the answer of the Farhan questions.
That's
I don't
fine.
know if I answered.
that doesn't tell us what is home shopping, which was his question. But I think when you talk about door-to-door salesmen, I think that will count as direct selling. I guess.
Yes, but they don't.
Right. Well, that's direct selling, 18%.
Direct selling is like you go to the store and you buy it.
Well, that's why we actually.
Or maybe.
Wait, no, maybe.
No.
I said-
meaning.
Okay. The best thing to do is if you can find this original document, your source document. I can see it because I'm in sharing mode. Probably it will have a discussion in there. Direct selling, does it mean person to person, like multi-level marketing, like Tupperware, or does it mean go to the Samsung store, or go to the, whatever the brand store, their own health store? I don't know. It's interesting information. I do have a couple questions for you from early on. Let's go. Questions and comments. Okay, so first, the first thing I wanted to say is, Ismail, you need to learn to read money. And this is really important. In your field GMBA, you need to be able to talk money. So in the second line on this page, it says in 2018 or 2018, 2 ways to tell the year, the market was estimated to be, now listen to me, $9.3 billion. The dollar sign goes in front, we say it in the back. If you want to, you could say 9.3 billion US dollars. Right? But the dollar always goes at the end. That's fine. And then we go down to bigger numbers. For example, in the table under 2018, the last number is 9,370. Right?
Should be.
This table is probably in millions, so I don't see it's dollar. Yeah.
Could you read fourth line on the table?
Fourth line on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4 total imports.
First number. Could you read?
107.
I must be
1,000.
7,000.
This number right here, total imports. 1,088.
88.
1,088.
That's 88.
Don't say a zero. Right? So yeah, so you want to be able to read your numbers in a way that people expect to hear and understand what. This chart is probably a really good chart, but it's really hard to read. Now, it's nobody's fault that because of our situation right now, the PowerPoint, we can't go to full screen. If I try to go to full screen, the screen sharing option is on and off on Zoom. It's crazy. So that makes it a bit smaller. That's hard. I would have, in this case, cut off the heading and made this chart go all the way to the top. Okay. That would make it a little bit easier to read, but it's hard. The next one. You did a great talk. I gotta believe that you have a script somewhere on the side, that you were reading the script. But I don't know that, but I mean, you really spoke this well. Because you spoke it so well, you don't need so many words on this page. You could just basically have numbers. because this is really hard to read. It's a really, I will say, ugly page. Even though the top is really pretty, but there's so many words in here. And this is normal. All of you guys have had Korean professors who stood in front of the class with their back to the students and read their PowerPoint. And that's shit, okay? Don't do that. My basic rule is my rule, and I break my rule sometimes. But my basic rule is that if you have 8 lines plus a header, you're full. If you go to 9 or 10, you're basically saying my audience doesn't need to do this. Right? Less lines, less words. 50 words on a page is a lot. That's why.
Professor, I think.
Yeah.
Professor, I think only this is my slide, which is having.
I agree.
like,
I agree.
description,
I'm just
but
pointing it out because I'm teaching your classmates. I'm not criticizing you, but in my other classes, we have presentations for 2 or 3 days. And I tell students on day 2 and day 3, do not repeat these things that I talk about in day 1. You guys, today, you have no chance for repairs. So I'm talking about your future. I'm talking about
yeah, Professor.
You did an excellent presentation. I am not complaining about your presentation. I'm commenting on how we can do in the future better presentations. You did a wonderful presentation. This is the same kind of thing where it's just really small and hard to read. But you talked it through very well. Same kind of thing, the type is small. My basic rule is first line of text is 36 points, second line is 32, third line is 28, never smaller than 28. I'm gonna guess this type is about 21, 18. Okay. So it means basically the audience can't really read it. Even if we put it in the full presentation mode, which I'm gonna try right now for just a second, so the class can see it. It's really hard to read. All right.
Steve, the laser.
Pointer? I don't have one. So anyway, Ismail, wonderful presentation. To be first, you're always going to get some critique from the professor. You did a really nice job. Thank you very much. I hope you can stay with us as long as you can stay with us, but I understand you have some other things you have to do. Okay, so when you need to leave.
Yeah, Professor, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can go ahead.
When you need to leave, you just go ahead and leave. But I hope you stay as long as you can. All right? Good first presentation. Nice start.
Thank you so much, Professor. Actually, yesterday I was in too much tension, so I don't know how did I do the presentation, because last week I was busy in making the documents ready.
No presentation. No excuse. You got your A for your presentation. Don't worry about it. My presentation, I just do A and C. I don't do pluses and minuses.
So I need your permission now to leave, because I have
I
to call
said
embassy.
just leave. When you need to leave, just leave. Stop talking. I gave you permission. If you need to leave, you'll leave. If you can stay, stay. I want to come back to that. All right?
And Professor, I hope that my if I will leave, my grades will not affect, because this is the genuine reason.
Oh, I told you why. I said it was okay. Robin's in the hospital. He's not here. I told him it's okay.
Because I cannot afford too many losses in my career. Like I refuse my visa, then I get less grades.
You're done. Stop talking. Who's next? Who's next? Any volunteer? I know Melissa said she wanted to be first, but she couldn't be first.
Yeah. We respect ladies. That's why she will be first.
Another lesson in our class instead sprinting to speed like
So, Robin, Melissa offers you to be next if you want.
I want, right?
Yes?
you want your voice.
No, I want to be last.
You want to be last?
And then,
Yeah, I'm a little shorter.
sorry, Professor.
So you said Munisa should be second.
Yeah.
Yes, Munisa, you're up. No. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure because when you stand here, the heater blows on you.
Yeah,
You
but
get
it's
warm.
just-
But for you, sorry, don't worry, you're beautiful. Come on up. That's all you get. Just use the arrow down. No, don't blow it up because then it will not work. Mike, okay, yeah. Perfect.
So, good afternoon, my dear professor and groupmates. My topic was automobile industry in South Korea. Now I would like to talk about this topic.
Arrow down. Yeah.
So, first of all,
Munisa, could you share the screen?
Just use the arrows.
Yeah, because I also unable to see your presentation.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah, we are really
One
interested.
second. That's it.
You are pointing at them.
Guys, okay?
Yeah, okay.
so to tell the truth, automobile industry takes a lot of time. That's why I tried to plan my presentation. Firstly, I pay attention to its origin. Don't laugh. Okay, its origin. I mean, I want to speak about a little bit background of the car industry. Secondly, second plan is comparisons with large companies of South Korea. Hyundai, Kia, and Daewoo. Lastly, I want to share some information, statistics, and facts with you guys. So, in my first page of the slide, I want to speak about first made car in South Korea, 1965. It was called Cosmel car. So before starting the presentation, I want to mention that Korean cars, when started in Korean car industry in South Korea. In South Korea, Korea just copied or remodeled overseas countries' car models. They didn't make themselves. So in this slide, you can see first made Cosmel car was called like this, and this model also was American military car, and two Korean brothers remodeled it and called it Cosmel. So automobile industry promotion policy in 1962 put in involvement. So the main point of this policy was to prevent excessive competition among four large Korean car industry and companies. They were Kia, Asia Motors, General Motors, and Hyundai Motors. So as we know, there was some popular brand cars as exist nowadays as well. They were Kia Industry, Dongfang Automobiles, Nissan Motors. They were established in 1962. Some of them changed, or some of them, how can I say, bankrupted and sold their company name or company to another brand. So after 6 years, Hyundai Motor Company established, in 1968. Next slide. As we know, Hyundai Pony is the first Korean developed automobile as is built in 1975. This type of car, please be attentive because at the end of my presentation I will ask some questions according to my presentation. Okay, guys? This type of car, Hyundai Pony, firstly exported in South America, especially in some countries. They were Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, between 1976 and 1982. The Korean automobile industry greatly suffered from energy crisis during 1978. In order to prevent this problem, Korean government took policy, so it was called automobile industry rationalization policy in 1982. This how can I say, made this policy made in order to help the develop of the car industry in South Korea. So unfortunately, the following years, during 1970, Korean car industry suffered from localization of car parts, and after 10 years, there was some difficulties with export-oriented car industry in South Korea. So, firstly, Hyundai Motors entered the US in 1986 with the Axle, as the Pony was known there. Axle car firstly entered the US. It was called Axle, and guys, this type of car, Axle car, set a record among the most sold cars among 126,000 automobiles, because it sold largely because of its low prices. In the US market, you see, 126,000 automobiles, Korean car sold, and unfortunately, it was made with low quality, and that's the reason why it lost its reputation. Hyundai car motors lost its reputation in the US market, but it awarded for best product 10 this award because of its low prices. It was low prices. That's why Korean people bought it much, and that's why it get awards. So. During following years, I should mention that Samsung company with its technologies and technology-related products, but it has also operated in car business as well. So it is established in 1994. 1994. So I should say that it established during 1994, but it was established during during Asian crisis period. That's why Samsung company faced with financial crisis problem, and that's why it sold It's sold, not sold, but after facing this financial crisis, it faced with bankruptcy and closure. And that's the reason why Samsung company sold its stake. Pay attention, sold its stake, 70% stake to Renault company. You see in the bottom written 2000. In the 2000, it sold stake 70%. Renault is, I should mention that Renault is French company which makes cars, tanks, tractors, and some other type of cars. So next. So in this from this page, I start my next my second plan. My second plan. From this page, I compare three big companies, Kia, Hyundai, and Daewoo. Hyundai had initial success in American, in the US business by selling 186,882 units of its XL 1982. As I said, its first exported car. Can you remember? So among these three popular cars, Hyundai was, how can I say, Hyundai was popular and sold much of its cars. In the second page, Kia followed in 1994. Pay attention 2 years, please. In 1994, selling 12,163 vehicles in the United States, and then lastly with 12,182 vehicles, and lastly Daewoo with it is 2,400 sales in 1994. So Korean cars mostly took its model from usually from America or Japan. They took ready model or how can I say, or copy into different. And besides that, they were initial entry in the US States market lasted only 5 years. 5 years because General Motors and they were started working together, working jointly, but General Motors didn't allow they were company to export its cars with its brand. It didn't allow to export cars with its brand. That's why, but they were allowed to develop its technology and models and how can I say, its products. That's why during following years they were couldn't work with General Motors and faced with bankruptcy. And after this, General Motors bought their company, and it has renamed name into GM Daewoo. So after that, GM Daewoo began selling the Chevrolet Avon in the United States in 2003 with 5,677 vehicles.
5 is just
Yes.
5,600.
you cannot say vehicles in points.
Okay. By 2005, the Chevrolet Avon sold 68.86,000.
68,085.
Okay.
So you need to practice your numbers.
Again,
Really, really, you do presentation with wrong numbers and it really kills you.
in the second page, Kia sales in the United States began with its product Festiva, which was produced together with Ford in 1987. Kia began independent exporting to the United States in 1994 with its first export car to the US, the Stelvio. Kia was sold to Hyundai in 2006. Kia sales in the US became strong enough during that time. Here in the bottom, I can say about plans of the Kia Motors in the Georgia. It planned to open its manufacturing plant in the Georgia during 2009. Lastly, Hyundai gained to success with its Hyundai Excel. I mentioned about much. Hyundai then opened up its first R&D. This is R&D center. You know which is?
Research and development.
Yes, Research and Development Center in the US in 1986. Hyundai built its first manufacturing subsidiary in Canada for the North American market. Hyundai opened its first assembly and manufacturing plant in the United States in 2005, known as Hyundai Motor Manufacturing, Alabama. So from this page, I want to give some statistics and facts, but it will not be visible for you. But the line is most important one. From the line you can answer. So in the blue line you can see auto sales in South Korea. In the black line it is GDP. And
Black line or red line?
Black.
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 I don't see a
dotted
black
line.
This is black. This is blue. Only two lines.
Okay, I see. Red. Okay, it's because of color. That's fine. Okay, I see red and blue. That's all right. Never mind. Go ahead.
And year started from 1987 until 2005. During these years, after sales and GDP compared with each other. Here you can see, we have not stick.
Okay.
Just use your finger. Just point.
Here you can see a decrease, great decrease, because it is happened during 1998, because during this time Korea faced not only Korea, I mean during this time Asian crisis happened. That's why
Asian crisis.
crisis, yes.
Korea.
Oh, it's Asian. Asian. It's Asian.
Not only Korea. Asian crisis happened, and that's why after sales decreased sharply. And during 1987, it was start to increase and reached its top during 1995. And after that time, it continued. How can I say? It is after financial crisis, Asian financial crisis, it again broke up and rise. But here you can see again some changes during 2004. During 1 year, there was this again. But GDP didn't change so much doing this here. And in this page, you can see after sales compared with unemployment rate in Korea. You see how again Asian cruises affected to after sales and unemployment rate. When sales decreased, unemployment rate is decreased.
Increase.
Increased, sorry, increased. So increased, and actually it was go. How can I say?
But stop talking. You did that slide is perfect. Don't say more.
Okay.
Because you explained the previous one. We know the same blue line.
Okay.
It's perfect. Go to the next slide.
Go
Go to the next slide. There's nothing more to say there.
Okay, my last slide, my last page continued till 2008. Here I'd like to share information about 2009 about aftermarket production worldwide. And in this pie chart, South Korea compared with other popular car industry companies. So from the chart you can see Korea gained 9 points, and China has got. This is China.
Korea is how much?
6%.
Yeah, 60. Sorry. And US.
Get your numbers right. Slow down. Get your numbers right.
So it's difficult to work in.
Get your numbers right. No excuses. Get the numbers right.
In the bottom, this is China, 22%, and in the red, 6%, South Korea, and the US 9% here, and with 13% here Japan and 9% Germany. Here you can see the rest of the countries.
Okay, question again. This is production, right?
Yes, production of aftermarket production worldwide.
Okay, now question. Is this production where the factory is, or is this production by the company that owns it? Example, Hyundai makes cars in USA. Hyundai is a Korean company. USA is the production site. Where does that car fit? Does it fit in USA or does it fit in Korea in this pie chart?
This is in South Korea.
Do you know that?
Yes.
You read that?
Next slide and the next page I said about.
South Korea manufactured. Okay, so
Yes.
this is, that pie chart is country of manufacturer,
Yes.
not country of company.
Not. But here mentioned in 2009 the number of vehicles produced by Hyundai here.
See, there's two different things. This is what I'm talking about. There's two different things. Hyundai Kia is a Korean company.
Yes.
But the factory in Georgia is USA.
Yes.
Where is the car counted in the pie chart? This paragraph talks about two different things. Automobile manufacturer means Hyundai, means South Korea. But made in USA would be USA. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. But these are the things you want to figure out when you're teaching. Okay? What does the chart actually say?
Everything is understandable on this chart.
Yeah.
Here you can see India and Brazil, 4 and 5 with their percentage.
Yes, they're good.
And nowadays, South Korea is the largest piece automobile manufacturer. I mean, from the line it gained peace level among other countries.
Where did you get this is this one paragraph that you copied from something? Or
Yes.
did you write
It
this?
is explanation of
No. Where did you get this paragraph? From a paper or did you write it? It's an important question, don't fudge. Did you copy this paragraph from something? Okay, where did you copy it from?
Yes, I given.
Because the English is
The National Innovation System and the Atomic Industry in South Korea.
right. Okay, so it's shit. It is a
English is
the information the English is okay. The information in there is very confusing because they blurred two facts. They talked about Hyundai Kia, and they talked about build in the US. And they said Hyundai Kia of South Korea built more than 3.5 million, but they didn't say where they built it. So it's very, very confusing. It's
Yes,
a
because
poorly
Korea
written paragraph.
has its companies in the American, yes?
And in Europe.
Uh,
So that's why I'm not blaming you. I said, where did you get this information? Because the information is not well written. It's not your fault. Keep going. You have to be able to understand what something is, and then if somebody asks you a question, you say, I'm not sure. I got it from here. And you're off the hook. It's not your fault. Go ahead. Finish up.
I said it's written like this.
Right. And so I said, where did you get it?
Okay, this is my
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
and that's all.
All right.
Thank you for
So you got my two key points. One is learn your numbers. You've got to do numbers right.
Can I ask some questions?
Yes, please.
So,
You wanted to ask questions, so go ahead. But listen, you are not an elementary school teacher.
Okay.
Don't tell people, pay attention. That's terrible. You can't do that. Even professors are not supposed to do that. Go ahead. What are your questions?
that one exported to which country, which parts of the which country, and which especially in
So, America, Georgia, these countries mentioned. Maybe not America.
Ask your question again. I didn't understand.
that only exported to South America, especially in which
Which countries?
In South America?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, so three
Venezuela.
countries.
Venezuela.
Venezuela,
Venezuela, sorry. And Georgia.
Not Georgia.
Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador.
You
No,
said
there, you go back to the slides.
You said that?
I
Yes, you said
said, but
Okay. Well, because that kind of detail I'm not paying attention to.
There is the slide.
Show the slide.
This is show
yes,
the
in
slide.
the second
Show the
slide.
Yeah,
slide.
show the slide.
Arrow up.
Up.
Yes. Put in the second slide.
Yeah. Yes. There.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Okay.
Dark.
So why did I not? Okay. Understand. I'm a visual person. Okay. Some people they listen very, very well.
Yeah.
Some people read very, very well. I like. No. Wait. Let me finish my sentence. Some people are visual. They see and understand. Some people read and understand. Some people hear and understand. Some people do and understand. This, how many lines on this PowerPoint? Count.
2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
11.
30
Lines, 13. It's got twice as much information as people can read. I honestly can hardly read that. My glasses don't help.
But I didn't say listen. I didn't say read. I said pay attention and just
Well,
listen.
Right. First of all, as I said, don't say pay attention.
Pay attention.
Okay, next time.
But the
I
second
will
one, no,
listen.
that's right. That's done. I'm teaching you for your future, as I said. The second thing is, as a visual person, I'm not going to read that and remember it, because it's too detailed. And I'm not going to hear it and know. But if you had cut out that or made 4 slides instead of 2, because you said this is slide 2 and slide 1.
Professor, he was given a lot of years. As you said, I'm not visual person, and I cannot, but I can learn. I cannot learn by
Make
watching years.
4 slides, not 2.
cannot remember the year.
Wait,
Oh.
what did I say? I said make
Make
4
this-
slides.
This one
Not
slide,
2.
make it into
Ah,
2 slides.
okay.
Up and
Then
down.
we can read it.
Okay,
Too much data.
Okay.
but all of them were in okay.
I didn't say cut it. I said make 4 slides, not 2. Come on, listen.
Okay.
Make 4 slides, not 2. So we have half as many words. 50 words on a slide is a lot. I bet you have more than 85 on that page. Too many words. It's too hard to understand. The information is good. Actually, for me, there's a separate comment, but the information on this page is good. It's just too much information for one page. That's why a pie chart, a table is wonderful. Your 2 graphs are wonderful, but they need one fix, and I'll talk about that.
And you just maybe take a picture from your.
Yes, because I couldn't.
You can
copy
ask
and
me.
paste.
I'll show you how to screenshot.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, do you know how to screenshot?
Yes,
Do you know screenshot?
yes.
So why
How
don't
come
you
you do
use
that?
a screenshot?
So I
You take picture from your laptop and
Yes.
then put it.
You
in the
used
slide.
your camera to take a picture from your
Yes.
computer.
Yes.
Why didn't you copy on the computer?
because I couldn't copy.
Why not?
I tried to copy, but when I tried to copy one picture, it could copy it again.
And then
No,
you
just
press it.
just a screenshot.
You
Or crop the screen.
you need to
I
learn
told
how to
you,
do that.
you can
I
ask.
will ask.
Yeah, you need to learn how to do it. It
You
takes,
should have
even
asked.
with the worst image editor, you can do it in 7 seconds. But yeah, that would help. That was gonna, those 2 graphs are wonderful.
But
Let
Not properly with
let the graph, yeah, I mean, there's a
I want to open from the book.
it's not needed.
No, it's not.
Okay, so relax. It's learning time. It's not grading time. I'm not complaining about your performance. I'm teaching you for the future. So you want to make the image talk for you. Remember on your second graph, I said stop talking? Why? Because the blue line, or black, whatever hell color it is the same. Picture 1 and picture 2. You explained picture 1. So picture 2, that blue line
Represent the
is standard. So now we're just looking at the other line and comparing. Go, oh yeah, okay. So the second picture, I would have gone, and this is number of sales or whatever it was, right? Oh no, unemployment. And go, and stop talking. And just 5 seconds. Change to the next picture. Let people see and their brain work. Because when you talk, they have to think about what you said. But when they see it, they go like, oh, unemployment. Wow, look at that. The cars went down and unemployment went up, and they understand. Stop talking. Let the PowerPoint talk. In that case, the pictures were beautiful. They need a little technical fix, but the information was beautiful. Let your pictures talk for you. Less words, more pictures. Then the picture, you just kind of say, oh, here's a pie chart, and here's how
I
this
just have one slide.
Go to the pie chart. Go to the pie chart. Yeah. So it's not your fault because you can't control it. What is the that says rest? The
Rest
purple one on the
of the
top?
country,
Yeah, see, I can't read.
32%.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest of the world. Okay, good. It's perfect information. Perfect. You can't ask for anything better. That's exactly what you want. Wonderful. Do you have any other questions or comments?
Yes, I want to ask a question from Papa.
Okay.
My next
Now
question
you
is,
agree and
It's test time. You're going to be great.
No, she will throw this all into
I
a
check your speech and presentation during your.
Aha. Revenge.
So during this year's Excel set a record for most sold automobiles among how many cars?
Oh, numbers of
Yes.
cars? Nobody
Just
remembers
one
that
number.
shit.
Which company?
Not country, I said
Company.
company.
There are Kia, Hyundai.
No, she said how many cars were
Excel.
sold. Did you remember the number?
I said it ever that this it is
Pony.
low prices among best product 10.
In 1980s.
I'm not asking years.
Yes.
And how many cars?
Cars.
In America, I said.
In America,
Yes.
it's like
But it's low quality. It's
I'll tell you more about Hyundai Excel when we finish. I think it was like 160,000, something like that. 164.
Professor.
he's a professor. He can.
Professor.
I never remember stuff like this, but that one kind of sticks.
Even
160,000.
he was beating
Because the Excel is his first car. He said,
No, it wasn't. I didn't buy it. I almost did.
You said that when you came here, there is a pony, and you said, and we.
Oh no, that was a Tico. That's different.
Okay, don't worry. Don't
No.
make face like
What
that.
I was looking, when you were talking, I was looking for something because I know what Shiba means, and I couldn't believe they would name a car for that. So I was looking to see if there's another meaning.
Yes, it has another meaning.
So do you know what Shiba means? If a Korean is angry and he says Shiba,
Yeah.
you know what he means, right? It's a really dirty word. That's not what that car means. What does that car
I
mean?
know. Siba?
Yeah, the car. It doesn't mean it means something else. No, the word is much dirtier than that.
Yeah, it's abusive word in
Okay.
English.
They name places. Okay, it has it's awarded among 126,000 cars in America. Yes. Yes. Last question about Samsung company. Company faced with financial difficulty and thus so it is
70%
70% stake to where? Which country?
Is you bought?
It's a global country, but its home base is.
I said it is this country and name like this.
It's in 19.
Don't worry about the year. She's asking the name of the company.
Name of the company is
Could you repeat your
in
question?
the second last line. Last or second.
3, 2, 1.
Country. I said country. Only one
Wait. We have a voice
Could you-
above.
Could you repeat your question?
Me wanted
Yes.
Yes.
company
Question.
faced with financial difficulties. Therefore,
No. Okay. The last question.
sold its stake to that company. How much percent stake it sold and to where and which country?
Samsung cars.
It was a Renault, right?
Exactly.
Reynolds. Yes,
Renault.
exactly.
Yeah. Like stock was like 70%.
70%. He got that.
Is it located where?
Where?
Where is Renault?
Here.
Where is
No.
Renault?
No.
I don't know the where, but
Oh, it is located in France. I said it makes
Yeah.
makes cars, tanks, tractors, and other type of big
Vehicles.
vehicles. Yes. So thank you for your attention. If I did some mistakes, sorry for my mistakes.
Don't apologize.
Okay.
You have to be very positive. People will.
Actually, I
Right. Now, I want to suggest that we take a 10-minute break.
Sure.
But before we take that break, I have 2 comments for your presentation. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
the professor, I have important words to say to you.
Okay, hang on just 1 minute, and we'll do that. First of all, the car Shiba does not mean.
The professor, that's really important.
Wait, stop. What?
That's really important. I'm saying.
Can you
So, yeah, my lawyer came to
Okay.
the hospital, and then we have to like meet right now. I don't know. I will come back like in 30 minutes. I'm not sure.
Okay,
I will try to come back.
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Take care of business.
Not business, health, dear professor.
Okay.
It's just the past experience. idiot.
Professor,
Yes.
Papa said he will not come back.
It's the history.
You know what? There's a point at which you don't care anymore. If you're just grading, I'm evil. I told you guys before. I just count the points.
Don't evil with that.
If you don't do it, there's no points. It's that easy. All right. So obviously he wants to do that when he can. I want to suggest take a 10-minute break.
Yes.
First of all, Shiba. I'm not sure what it means because I don't read the Hanja well, but there are a couple of possibilities. Shi as in city, you know, and Ba could mean feet or it could mean transportation. So it could be something like city car, but you know, the car went out of production a long time ago. The key point of it was not locally produced exactly. They took American Jeeps and they kind of, we could say, rebuilt them. The other thing, you gave me a lot of good information, some things I didn't know, so I'm happy you did it. And the same thing is true with Ismail. The thing I didn't say was that in his presentation about cosmetics, I had no idea Korea exported that much cosmetics. Because I've always been the one who, when I traveled overseas, my sister-in-law and my friends, they always said, oh, can you buy this Japanese cosmetic for me? Can you buy this American cosmetic for me? And bringing it in, because it's so expensive in Korea. This was 5, 7, 8 years ago. Since then, the taxes have changed with the FTAs. But I had no idea that Korea was exporting, what was it, $3 billion worth of cosmetics. It was a huge number. They're still importing a lot, but they're exporting more. And you know, you keep hearing about the Hallyu wave and Korea, this is popular and that is popular. It sounds like because of the Korean dramas and movies, more and more women around the world are buying Korean cosmetics. That's my guess. And that one fact just blew me away, just shocked me. I'm going to keep that PowerPoint because that's a really interesting fact that maybe I'll use the next time I teach this class. No idea. The word that you want to know, and I thought I said it in this class a couple weeks ago, is knockdown. Did I not use the word knockdown kit? Okay. You don't recognize it, then I didn't say it.
Okay. Yeah, you tried that.
Knockdown kit. It means they make all the parts in Japan and brought all the parts to Korea, and Korea put it together.
Yes.
Theoretically, it means they made the car in Japan and then took it apart again and put it back in Korea. But in reality, they never assembled it. So knockdown kit is what you wanted to say when you said that Korea was making foreign cars in Korea. If you'd said that, that would have been the magic word that, oh, that's what she's talking about. Knockdown kit.
Three main things they copied and remodeled and even imported even all parts of the cars
You
from
remember?
overseas countries.
You remember when
That's
we
what
had
knockdown kit
on the
means.
phone, I told you that they import part from Japan and make it here.
Yes,
Why
yes.
don't you say that there?
That means knockdown kit. Okay, now copied means they did something illegal.
Yeah.
All right. Did they do that in Korea? I don't know that. I'm not going to say yes or no. But the reason why it sounds like really evil that General Motors Chevrolet wouldn't let Daewoo sell their car overseas. The reason is because Daewoo had a license from Chevrolet to use Chevrolet technology in Korea. But when Daewoo wanted to sell in USA, Chevrolet said, no, the license is only, we don't want to give you our technology so you can compete against us in our time. No, you can't do that. And so Daewoo was like, but, and many Koreans, I was here, but they wanted us, I was like, because it's our stuff. You cannot sell our stuff in our market. You're not allowed to do that. You can sell it in Korea. Daewoo had not Daewoo, the fourth company, you didn't mention the fourth company. You didn't mention the fourth.
Professor, you said Kia,
General Motors, Asia
Kia,
Motors.
Hyundai, Daewoo. We say Daewoo in Pakistan.
Yeah. A lot of people
and
do too.
DM.
You forgot the other company. They still exist in Korea today.
Samsung.
Ssangyong.
Danbang,
Ssangyong.
Ah,
Those that's
Danbang,
old.
Danbang.
Ssangyong.
Sanyong.
Downbound, there is also Shima.
Also, there's a lot of type of cars. If I
No,
speak
but
about
it's a
all-
company.
Company, we're talking about company.
So you want to talk about Dongbang, you're talking about old history. That's before Daewoo, all right? So you got Hyundai, Kia, Daewoo, which is now Daewoo GM, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, keep going.
And
Samsung, which is now Renault.
Nissan.
Look, Renault owns Nissan also, right? So it's the same kind of level. What's the next company?
I don't know that the company is
Sangfang.
No.
Sanyong. Sanyong.
And Ssangyong had a partnership with Mercedes, so that they used Mercedes engine and transmission to sell in Korea under the Ssangyong name. But the same vehicle made in Korea was sold all over Southeast Asia and South Asia as Mercedes-Benz. And there was this van called Istana, which was, a van, and you could sit 12 or 14 people in it. And all over Southeast Asia and South Asia, you could find it. It was a Mercedes van. It was made in Korea by Ssangyong. So it was a true partnership. We'll use your technology in our country, we'll sell under our brand. In the other countries, the Mercedes dealers sold it under the Mercedes brand. But of course, the factory workers were in Korea. So it was a good partnership. So these are the 4 or 5, because it's now one company, right? 2, 3, 4. You mentioned Asia. Asia was a branch of Kia to make buses and trucks. Asia Motors,
For passengers?
no. Trucks and buses. But that brand is no longer in existence.
And General Motors.
GM is Daewoo GM.
Yeah.
Daewoo became Daewoo GM.
They were separate, and
But this is an American company. This was a Korean company. They went bankrupt. They were working together.
General Motors American, yes?
Yes, they were working together. Daewoo went bankrupt. GM bought it.
That's why GM didn't allow to.
No, because Daewoo was using GM parts, GM technology. In fact, the first well-selling car in Korea by GM was called, what's the name of it? It's an American brand. It's an American car. It was a knockdown kit. It was an American car built in Korea, sold in Korea under the Daewoo brand. No, they couldn't sell it back in US because US already sold it.
Actually, there's have kind of big relationship with America mostly.
Mostly, but Hyundai started off with, I want to say Toyota, but it's not that, it's a different. Anyway, they had a Japanese partner. Kia had Ford as a partner. Daewoo had GM as a partner.
Yes, Ford, yes.
Samsung used Nissan parts. Even before they merged, they had a Nissan, Japan, engine and transmission. Samsung never developed their own engine and transmission. Daewoo had an engine and transmission, but it wasn't very good for big vehicles.
Ford is Germany.
Ford,
right?
Ford is USA.
Ford or Ford?
Ford, F-O-R-D is USA.
USA.
It's a global company. They have a German division, an English division, Australia division.
Ford
But-
is a very big.
F-O-R-D is an American car. GM is an American company. GM and Ford American. But they're global companies. Hyundai has factories in Hungary or Czechoslovakia or somewhere like that, and in US, and I think in Mexico. So, they're global companies. That's good. Let's take a short break.
What topic you don't know about?
There's lots of things I don't know about. I told you, I learned from the cosmetics. I lived here and I kept arguing with
You
Koreans.
already know all of this. I made information.
No, this is something that I've been here since '94, and automobiles were an important issue. By the way, there was a separate sub-company in Daewoo too, called Daewoo Public Motors. which is like Asia with Kia. It was a sub-brand. And they made the Tico, and the Tico is the car I talked about when I landed here. The first car I rode, Tico. So that's the Tico. Tico. It means star.
It's a small car, you know?
You know the Tico?
Yes, it
Yeah,
has
tiny
in
car.
country. It's a small car.
Yeah, they sold it in other countries. They never sold it in US because it couldn't pass the safety laws.
What?
But I beat you.
Beat him, beat him!
Sana, hello dear. How are you? You hate me? Me? Heat. A beat. Farfan beat me several times. Just need to go. Please, think about my child. I'm not alone. If you beat me, you will beat my child as well. Sana, dear, do you have time in the evening?
Hi guys.
To go to eating restaurant, really? You're always free for us. You know that.
Did you tell her that I'm paying? It's free food. Sure, I'm coming. Thank you for this.
No, it was not paid by you. She should pay right.
But I will need a bit of a break because I have to go to my office and
It's okay.
dump you about 10 or 15 minutes. After we finish, I need about 15 minutes and then we can go.
Can I be after to come
Yeah, sure.
if you are not?
Yeah, sure.
Leave.
What's the name of this restaurant? Can you remember?
Good afternoon,
No, now she's inviting her husband and his friends, right?
This is my mother, professor. Not I'm not inviting. Just I'm talking with my mother. Она ее yaptı. Как быстро hazırlaşıyordu. Ik vanuit er stuk is nog niet en dan wordt dat even naar als een job maar je weet nog eerder een job op uit je dan ook nog een persoon eerder een job aan yaxshi azam bu hafta menga ishlaydi darsdan o'z tanaffusimiz edi darsdan o'z tanaffus edi
Okay.
Sardur yaxshi dadam yaxshi o'shani aytdim qachon nima ko'rib ketasan deyotgandi ha bu xabar bo'lib boshingda dekabrgami 26 dekabrmi Kechimadimi 26
What happened here?
Arabamı?
Professor, my presentation on the desktop.
Right. I need to save it. So I'm just going to.
It says about the TV, but it's not about the TV. It's not sweet, not salty. Okay.
What, the bread?
Yeah.
It's quite nice. It's more like a cake.
Take yeah, bread. Bun.
You cannot feel delicious.
It's very nice. I said it's
Why
very
I
nice.
cannot
I'm going to.
Why I cannot feel taste?
He has no feeling, don't you know? Okay, so can I close this screen?
Sure.
I will make sure.
Yeah, if
From
you
your
close, I
lab-
can open
From
it
your
again.
university,
Everything you can just control it.
Well, I only want to close your stuff. I don't want to close my stuff.
from your university, 4 students are ill with coronavirus now.
You mean
Yeah.
across the whole campus of 20,000 students, they have 4?
But we have not 4 students talked with how many students and shared their illness. Yongnan University is really close to with our location. My address.
If you are not within 3 meters of somebody, you really do.
But when I go through subway, all the people
Yep.
sit
Yep.
in front of me.
Because they don't care.
So what?
Yep.
They are wearing mask.
So you're wearing your mask, that's the best you can do.
You can
Wear glasses. I wear glasses for reading. When I'm like this glasses does not help me.
100% can mask 100% prevent us.
No, but a mask helps.
It's not a.
One mask is, let's just, some simple numbers, so it's easy to understand. These aren't perfect. One mask, 80% blockage. My mask and your mask together, 90% blockage.
And cleaning hands 10%.
Yeah, if your hands get dirty because somebody coughed on you, but if they're wearing a mask,
It's okay.
the bottom line is they don't really know. If you pay attention every 2 or 3 months, these things change because they don't really know. They're still learning. All right, we're ready for presentation number 3. Is he back?
He's not back, and I need a full screen for the.
Say again. What? Say what?
Animations.
Okay, I need you to say this one more time because I haven't figured out what you're talking about.
I
Start from the beginning.
A full screen for my presentation because I.
Then it doesn't go on Zoom probably. It will probably not go on Zoom. But that's what if that's what you need, that's what it is.
Professor, when you go to retire?
She's trying to
Why
get
are
rid
you
of
laughing? I'm asking.
You were
February
Professor.
2024.
1, 2 times assessment.
February 2024.
So.
3.5.
Next year, you mean?
February 2024. This is 2020.
24.
Ah.
Okay.
3.5 years from now.
For Korean,
Maybe
when
I
it's
want
go to
to
retire
give it.
from 65 or 70? 65?
Korean professors 65.
65. In
What about
Pakistan, people
women?
are retired
Women?
at the age
Company people,
of
public servants, people who work for government, the age is 60.
60. And
There is no national required retirement line.
we have 2 types of retirement. First, 25 years of service, and
For
after
whom? And everybody?
everybody, government service.
A public servant. The government worker and private company is different.
And if he or she don't want to be retired, then she will work or he will work until 60.
In Korea, you can retire with some benefits at 20. You can.
20 years of service.
You can retire with some benefits, but they're kind of small. But most people are work till 60 because they start late here, right?
Mm.
They guys go to army service or whatever. They may not start working in their professional career until they're 29 or 30, and then they start their family and they have nothing, right? Not like in your country where you start working maybe 22, 24, and you get married when you're 28 or 30 maybe. So you have a few,
25.
but you have a couple of years to start saving money and whatever.
Yes.
But in Korea, they usually don't have much.
But my case is like cheap.
Well, as soon as you decide to go overseas to study, you just make things more complicated.
Because I want to ask you.
I don't know how to get your
question.
wait a second. I don't know how to get your presentation started.
Is it okay? Who is this?
This is Robin.
Yes.
I don't upload your presentation on the CTL,
Yeah.
but
Sorry,
other
so-
students.
Other students, two did. Okay, now we should be able to show this up soon.
Yeah.
You just gonna go like this, right?
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Not.
Wait. So you need to remove the edit move. Okay, now what do you want to do? So what?
Is one by one able to
Okay, no, wait a second. Hold on a second. So if you go here, it just shows it all together, right? But if you do that
kind of confuse me.
But if you do that animation, it's probably not gonna work on this.
There's still a chance. We can check. We can ask Robin if he's there. And if he's not there, no point
Say
of
after 26 minutes.
available
come back.
for this.
All right, hang on a second.
Last question.
You can try it.
What
country?
student,
What country?
he or she cannot send money back to
What
the
country? What country are we talking about? What country are we talking about?
Korea. Like I just got asked.
Okay,
something. In Korea, students are not allowed to send money back to their home country.
Correct. You know why? Because they're not supposed to earn enough money to do that.
Yeah.
If they work, it's for their survival.
And
It's still like a
somehow, if someone getting money from abroad to Korea,
That's legal.
and then he send that money to
That's not legal.
that money to
That's not legal.
Why?
Because
Because
Koreans,
before applying,
because-
you already checked some rules of the university that my parents will.
No, not
supply
my
me with
parents.
no,
money.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's like something
It doesn't matter. Wait, you asked me a question. Let me tell you the answer. A law in Korea is students are not allowed to have more money than they need. That's the basic rule. So if you are working or somebody sends you money or whatever, anyway, it's stuck here.
No, I'm telling you. So now I.
Legally, you're not. You're using some other wires. If you go to Daegu Bank and say, I want to send $5 million won to my parents in Pakistan, they're gonna say, show me your ID card. And they're gonna look at your ID card and say, you can't do that.
But you will open two cards, one from different cards, from two banks.
It doesn't matter. To send money out of Korea, you must show your ID card.
Anyway, for both of it.
No, if we are using.
If you are using a
The bank,
Korean
yeah.
bank to send money overseas,
I
they
never
have
sent-
to see your ID card.
I never sent money to them.
Right, so you asked me a question, so I gave you the answer. So no, you can't do it that way. Now,
But you have choice. You can send it by someone.
I already said in Professor said it's not legal. So
there are a lot of money transfer systems that don't follow Korean banking law. The question is, how do you get the money into that banking system? Well, that's a different question. I didn't say you can't do it. You asked me, is it legal? I said, it's not legal.
because I was doing this 3 months, first 3 months, and one thing maybe in the future they will be on visa problem, and then
If you are showing your ID, your alien ID, when you are sending money, immigration can know about it. The tax office can know about it. The tax office will say, where are you getting this money?
and I can say that it's on the Facebook island. The statement shows that Facebook island.
Yes, but how did you get it on Facebook? Were you working?
Yeah.
That's illegal.
No, it's like a part-time.
It's illegal.
Working.
It's illegal. I just had a conversation with the office asking about it because he knows what's going on with Robin. And he said, but Robin won't admit it. And I said, well, why not? Because it's illegal. I said, well, what if they know about it. They know.
I was thinking to ask him.
They know.
Coordinator.
You're not allowed to work in a factory if you're a student. That's the law in Korea. If you're a student, you cannot work in a factory. Period. It is a banned area. You can work in a restaurant and some other service job. You cannot work in a factory. No. If even it's Arbeit, you cannot work in a factory. It's not allowed. If they catch you, they deport you.
Maybe he tried to use university insurance, that's why. But this way they know.
No, he called them to ask for some information. And he didn't say, but they figured it out. They don't know exactly what's wrong with him, but because he walked up to me as I was going over to the coffee place and he said, have you heard from, he didn't use the word Robin, but yeah, do you know what? And I was like, yeah, I know. And he said, do you know he's in the hospital? I said, yeah. And I said, he can't come to class. I said, he's in my class. What do you mean he's in my? He's in my Zoom. Because how does he know? Because Robin talked to his other professors, and one of his other professors talked to them.
But it's not good to
He shared
ask
it. Actually, he
information
shared
from them.
his hospital picture with.
I don't know, but you know, it's like, oh, professor, I can't come to class. Don't mark me absent. And the professor's got another professor, like me, is going to say, well, you're not in class. You're absent. No, I can't come to class. Well, why not? Well, I'm in the hospital. In the hospital, why? This is what professors do. So another professor knows, and what do? They tell the office. Oh, Robin says he can't come to my class.
He says to you, Professor, I cannot go to your class.
And I
He
say,
says, don't tell to someone. And to other professors says, Professor, I cannot go to your class. Don't.
We have a poster presentation tomorrow.
So actually, I also treated.
so you know, he has a very good chance of failing all his classes. No. That's why professors are talking to the main office to say, what do I do? The answer is, you fail him.
So actually, he asked your opinion about.
Yes.
And you said what?
I said, I know he's in the hospital. I didn't say more than that.
So,
I said, do you know why he's in the hospital? And the staff said, well, I guess probably he was working. And I said, is that a problem? Students can work. And he said, students cannot work in factories.
they will do
They
some
cannot work in
temporary
factories.
work like Arbeit, but
You cannot, no, it doesn't, even 10 hours a week, you cannot do it.
Yes,
Factories
yes.
are banned. Absolutely
Yes, you are
not.
right. Yes, you're right.
And he said, it's a,
limited.
there are fields you cannot work.
Immigration.
I'm not getting your conversation. I'm just worrying about my scenario.
So no, your scenario is a little bit different because working online is not illegal. Okay, it's not. But it is working while you are in Korea. And there are so many foreigners who are professors or whatever who are doing their part-time jobs online. They're teaching children in India or in China, online teaching, right? And they're like, so I'm not working in Korea. It's, yes, you are. No, I'm not. It's online. It's in China. I said, no, where is your body? Oh, I'm getting paid in America. Where is your body? Well, I'm in my home. That's Korea. Korea wants tax.
So
And
I was paying
if you have a
taxes.
visa,
I was paying taxes. They gave me the less dollar range than if you appear on the app.
but who is paying your tax in Korea?
And when my income came, they deduct the tax from the income.
But did they pay Korea using your alien card?
I
No.
don't know.
No, they
Bank,
didn't.
the bank should know that.
No, they probably paid the tax in their country, not in Korea. You're in Korea, you have to report it. You have to file.
In their country.
I don't know, but you have to do taxes every year. If you make any money in Korea, you have to report your taxes. You have to tell them how much you made and they tell you how much they collected from your employer. And if it's nothing, then you have to pay. And you have to pay your medical insurance.
Then Robin,
It costs about
I
30%.
heard this. Industry insurance.
It costs about 30%.
then Robin in very difficult situation.
Robin's going to get deported.
What?
He's going to get deported.
He's a-
He's-
sorry to say
He's
to your
here
colleague-
only for
colleague.
his studies.
He's talking to a lawyer now. What can a lawyer do? Nothing.
he can change his visa to G1.
No, can't. No. If you're deported, you can't.
He
But,
applied in the same time with me. In the university.
No, he's gone. He's gone.
There is so many loopholes in South Korea.
Only if the government wants to help you.
Yes.
And if you have pissed off the government, there are no loopholes.
There
It's gone.
is a person who is living here in like 6 years illegally.
Oh, I didn't. I said he's gone. I don't actually mean they're going to put him on a plane in handcuffs.
Like that.
But he's going to lose his immigration status. That means he cannot be a student. He cannot work legally. He can be an underground worker.
Yeah, I think that.
Is that why he came to Korea to be an underground worker? I don't think so.
I was saying that.
Professor, I can wait.
Yeah, good. You're here. So we're talking about your situation.
Yeah.
Talking to a lawyer is probably a bad idea. If you go to court, you're going to lose your visa for sure.
You're stupid. Why are you talking
What?
with your situation with office manager, office?
He didn't. He talked to a professor. One of the other professors told the school office
And
that
they
you're in
know-
hospital.
and They know about your
Well, they-
condition.
No. Actually, I informed myself.
You told them.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I didn't say the reason.
Okay, maybe send you with worker visa, with another person.
Okay. Anyway, you're back. So hang on a second. You're back. Are you ready to present?
Yeah, I will try.
Okay. So, folks, hold on a second. Farhan, please sit down. Robin's here. He's going to present.
He's going to
present. He's here. So we're going to, because I don't know how to do
So
that.
I'll be the last one and
You'll be last. Losers are last.
don't give me marks.
I don't give you minus points for being last. I might give you minus points for being lousy, but not last. You know lousy? The word lousy?
Lazy.
Lousy means low quality.
Lousy.
Yes, it's correct.
Robin,
I-
when you tell me, I will change the slide. Okay?
Okay.
Just say when you want to change. Right now, we're on your first slide. It's 3 o'clock and you're up. Go.
Okay. Can you share the full screen? Like F5.
If I do that, maybe you can't see it, but I can try. Right now, you can see the small screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it already.
Okay, F5. I usually use this one.
Okay, thank you. You can see.
Okay, this way.
Okay, Robin, you can see this?
Yeah, I can see this.
Okay, then we try. Go ahead.
So there's good afternoon to you all, and I'm in hospital right now, and my topic, today's topic is about free trade arrangement, South Korea and the European Union. In fact, there are many free trade arrangements between South Korea, but my main focus for today's topic is especially South Korea and the European Union. So can you change that?
Next slide.
So here's the context of my presentation, that I will give a brief information about that free trade arrangement, and then the kind of like some trade pictures of FTA and then some graphics on it, and our main goal is that the benefits of the free trade arrangement. So can you change that? Yeah. Here's Korea's network, and as you can see, there are many countries like United States, Canada, European Union, Turkey, Australia, New Zealand, the all. But it's a little old date. It's 2019. So the reason why I decided to choose European Union, it's one of the largest one, and hopefully you will be able to learn something. So can you change the professor? Here's information. This picture represent the date when it was signed. As you can see here, that 6 October to 2010, and it was in Brussels. But it was effective when it was signed after 5 years. So South Korea and the European Union signers was like here like 28 countries in European Union and South Korea. So can you move that, dear professor? Here I try to give some overall views about how they trade each other and how its effect on the economy. So sorry for voices of others. So South Korea is the European Union's 8th largest export destination for products, and at the same time, European Union is South Korea's third largest export market. As you can, it can clearly mean that they both really important to each other economically. So the next information is the European Union exports of goods to South Korea really grew by 77% during it was signed during 8 years until 2018. So how it really affected the question is that so this turned that the European Union trade in product deficit of 9.5 billion euro in 2010, and it really broadly balanced in 2018 because of the export goods from South Korea to South Korea. And it can really show that how they really help each other. So can you change that, professor? So over the 7-year period, European Union inward foreign direct investment stocks increased by 12%, and while European Union outward foreign direct investment stocks increased by 39%. So when it comes to service exports of services to South Korea increased by 82% compared to at the same time, 66 percentage for European Union imports from the country. So European Union had 56 billion euro, not 56, sorry, 5.6 billion euro trade in services and with South Korea in 2017. Could you change that? So when it comes to European Union's most important goods to export to South Korea were are machinery and appliances, transport equipment, and chemical products. So the main European imports from South Korea, meanwhile, are mash- machinery and appliances, transport equipment, and plastics. As we can see that they are really similar to each other, but the difference is that the here European Union's imports are plastics, only difference, and then here when it comes to South Korea, imports is a chemical products, but others all the same. So European Union's is considered South Korea's biggest foreign direct investors, right? So can you change here? I tried to summarize some graphs. It was published in 2019, so you can see how. But the professor, could you clarify for me that the balance here, export and import is clear, but the balance, what is that?
The balance is
Like
the
a black one.
difference, the gap.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it. Like
So
the difference, right?
if I import $100 and I export $98, the balance is $2.
Ah, yeah, okay, I understand.
Bottom of the line.
Yeah, during 3 years, it really changed it, and it's a trade in goods. So over the years, European Union exports go down, and then the imports, on the other hand, grew. So can you change it? But
That's enough.
It's clear.
That's good. Now,
yeah,
you've done that fine. You cut it in one sentence, but yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, good. Next slide.
The next slide, Professor.
He was just.
So if we talk about the trade in services, as European Union and South Korea relations, so we can see that there are big difference. So European Union exports, yeah,
Okay, hold on. I can.
they more exports than
Hold
South
on.
Korea.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wait. Because it's hard to read, I can tell you. The orange one is EU imports. That means from Korea.
Okay.
Yeah, from Korea. Yeah.
And the green one is EU exports going to Korea.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just needed to fix that because we can't see it well. Go ahead, Robin.
When we talk, if you remember, when we talked about the trade in the, can you go back one?
One.
Yeah, there were similarly the same. That's the only a little difference. But when it comes to services, the second graph, the professor. When it comes to the services, so a European Union took the really real advantage here, and even over the years, South Korea is also exporting, but still there are many money going to the European Union when it comes to services. So next slide, no question. So when we talked about foreign direct investment, that you can also see that here inward stocks and outward stocks. Outward stocks is likely uh, export from South Korea, right, the professor?
Well, here we're talking about foreign direct investment, so it's not stocks exactly. It means investment in the stock market.
Yeah, probably similar. So there is a big difference anyway, and as far as I know, that the blue one, like a green one, is export, right, the professor?
It's not clear to me who exports. See, EUSK, I'm not sure we're talking about EU export or South Korean export. This chart is not helpful to me because it doesn't give me a point of reference.
Yeah, it was really hard to.
But I can't read it.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me undo this and maybe we can read it. Where did you get this chart? A book? A web page?
Yeah. No, web page it was.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because see, these ones say EU import and export. This one says EU import, export. So I'm guessing the same color,
Yeah.
EU import.
Yeah.
I'm still guessing it means EU
I don't know.
coming into EU, and EU exports means going out. So here, outward stock means the money, I'm guessing, the Europeans are spending money to buy stocks in Korea, foreign investors in Korea. And inward stocks, I'm guessing, means Koreans investing in the EU.
Yeah.
But I'm really not sure because I would have to read the book or the page to know exactly what they're talking about. That's your job. You're supposed to know what they said. But right now, we don't know. So let's go to the next slide because we're not clear.
Yeah. So here we start to talk about the benefits of foreign trade arrangement. So the majority of duties were removed in 2011, but the remaining ones, with the exception of the quite limited number of agricultural goods, and were removed after 5 years on July 1st and 2016. So the arrangement also made the new chances for market access in services and investments that are include like provisions in such in areas, for example, competition policy, government procurement, and intellectual property rights and transparency, and in regulation and sustainable development. That so actually the Koreans were able to assess markets, and especially European Union markets, and they could enter, for example, like European Union consists of 28 countries, like they could sell their services and goods in such markets. So the second one, the professor.
Sorry, change?
Yeah. So the next benefit that came from FTA was specialized committees and working groups between the two parties, European Union and South Korea. And their main goal was monitoring the implementations. For example, how progress is being held by the countries, like how they could sell their products or services, and like this kind of like a progress of the FTA, like implementing of them. So these bodies provide a chance to seek resolutions to market assets and concerns, so to engage in closer regulatory cooperation, and yearly trade committee at ministerial level plays a supervisor role, and is designed to ensure that the agreements operates properly. They had to like regulate what the FTA operating properly or not. This was so can you change that, Professor? Okay, here's the most recent information that I could find. So on July the 1st, 2019, market it was the 8th anniversary of that FTA, and this agreement this agreement eliminates the duties for industrial and agricultural products in progressive and step-by-step manner. So they on that day they saw how it was being progressive. So on the same day, sorry, I did a mistake here. That are the same, I guess. Okay, next one, the professor.
Next one, okay.
Here's the references that I used to prepare that presentation. So change the professor. Okay, thank you for attention. Sorry for mistakes.
Okay, done?
Yeah, done.
All right. First, questions.
So I like presentations.
Pardon my?
I like this presentation.
Munisa says she liked your presentation.
Yeah, I know, but it's the first one.
So
Actually,
he
you
was
are
talking
right.
about the FTA, and he's continuously saying that the foreign trade arrangements.
Yes, you
Foreign
used the
trade
wrong word. It's foreign trade
agreement.
agreements. But often we will see there are foreign trade arrangements in small letters, small f, small t, small
What
a.
arrangements?
Wait, come on. Foreign trade arrangements as a general discussion. But when you make an FTA, a foreign trade agreement, it is a written document that is very specific. So arrangements could include FTAs, it could include currency swaps and permission to work, workers to go back and forth. Those are all part of the idea of foreign trade arrangements. So the FTA is an agreement. You're right. Thanks for catching that. I heard that earlier, but you got it. Good. Anything else?
And
So, can I?
Go ahead. When Lisa says,
We should then
Go to the
say
slide.
all the way to him. So if from the number we can say we noticed that Korean government, Korea has good relationship with EU market. Why it's not one of the part of EU?
huh? Korea cannot be part of EU. It's not in Europe.
So I'm
Oh.
asking.
No. Come on, that's politics. We're talking
Yes.
economics. Economics. They can't be part of the EU because they're not part of Europe. Even Turkey is very fuzzy, right? Turkey is partly Europe, partly Asia, but they allowed
Not
them.
join, yes?
Turkey is in,
Ah.
I think. They didn't finish the stage. I think there's like 3 or 4 steps to get in. They're almost finalized, but because of the behavior of the president of Turkey, they're delaying
Many years.
full
Right.
admission. So they're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. Not yet full finalized. But Israel would not be allowed in.
Israel.
Cannot, because they're not Europe.
Dear Professor, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you go to the Korean FTA network?
Tell the page.
No. He's
Like
on smartphone. How can you tell?
First one. Yeah, first one. Yeah, here. No, the first one. Like network.
Before?
Yeah, this one. There you go.
This one.
Map.
No.
Ah,
Yeah,
I see. Network
map.
map. Say map, okay.
Yeah, but there is no Japanese, I guess.
There is no what?
Japan. Anyway.
That's correct, there is not.
But there is not. Why there is not?
There is
There is also an ASEAN agreement.
But I couldn't find.
Southeast Asian countries. ASEAN is a society, like the EU, and there is a Korea-ASEAN agreement. So Vietnam and Singapore signed separately before the ASEAN agreement. So that ASEAN agreement is not on here, but there is a Korea-ASEAN agreement, Southeast Asia agreement, which is wider. That's all right, but you guys are students. You're not professors who spend weeks and weeks preparing, learning to do a lecture. So that's fine. I was impressed. You say you don't like to do presentations, but I thought you did fine, especially considering you're in the hospital and we're working off a phone. You have enough charm.
Problems to solve, right?
You could do this. You need to understand you can.
Yeah.
Now, some other comments. Hold on a second. I have to find it. You seem to be writing sentences. You want to not think sentence. Beautiful language copy from a book on your PowerPoint. Think little short notes and break them. So for example, here you have 2 sentences. Almost never 2 sentences. Unless you are quoting exactly words from the book and you want to say, Mr. Kim Jong-min said, blah, blah, blah. Except that, never 2 sentences together. Just key facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, there was a big article, but I found I collected that I thought the most important.
No, that's fine, I'm saying, but don't write sentences, just short facts. Go, Manisa has something.
So he said goods, products. When we say services, can we say servants?
No, okay, but that leads to something I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to stop the sharing for a minute and take a look at the chalkboard, and I have 4 words or phrases: goods, products, services, and then IT and licenses. Robin, you use the word goods and products interchangeably, like they're the same thing, but they're not. Okay?
They are not that
Not
similar.
the same. Product means something that was done in a factory, that was made, it was produced. But goods are anything that you touch, that you use, that includes rice and potatoes. So a product is a good, but a good might not be a product, right? That's first. Now,
Product is broader.
no, good is product. Good includes potatoes and rice and anything a factory makes. But products must be made in a factory or something like a factory. I mean, if you're a skilled craftsman and you're making baskets in the village and you make 3, 4, 5 baskets in a day, or you're a potterer and you make a pot in a day, that would be a product because you made it. But a good is anything you can touch. When we talk about services, we usually include in that concept the idea of licenses, intellectual know-how. I wrote IT, I'm sorry, I meant to write
Intellectual properties also.
intellectual property. Okay, those are when we're counting the economy, we usually talk about goods and services, and we usually include intellectual property in the services area, not in the products area, because products seem physical, you can touch it. All right. So that's 2 generalities, general rules, not perfect rules. Services are things you can't touch, right? Services are things that are done.
Yeah.
And that's why we put IP and licenses under services, usually. Back to your, this one? That's why I was putting a new one something so I can find it. Yeah, it really sounds like the Korea has really benefited from the EU FTA, and Europe has benefited from Korea FTA, and I'm sure it has. But if you were a professor doing research on this, if you wanted to do your master's thesis on this, you would need 2 lines, like Munisa had. And I had to tell her, stop talking, because the second one explains. So we have this line that talks about, let's say, EU exports to Korea under FTA. 2010, 2017. So we have this, maybe you can't see all that writing on your screen, but what we have to imagine is, what if there was not an FTA? Would it be the same thing? Did the FTA change anything really? Okay, we cannot know. We cannot know. But we could look at some other countries that Korea has been doing its trade with that it doesn't have an FTA. So let's say EU, EU exports, I should say imports would be easier to do. Imports from EU to Korea. Now let's look at US imports. There's no FTA. Is it similar? Is it much flatter? And we could say the EU's really done well, because we could compare. Or we could say in 2010, the EU's share of the total imports in Korea was, and in 2017, the EU share of imports was, we go, wow, Korea's share of imports has grown a lot. This is when the FTA was getting started. This is well into the FTA. There's no FTA with USA. Let's look at USA. USA was, and now it's, USA has decreased a little. EU has increased a lot. Wow. So we're trying to say, what is the impact of the FTA? We have to have something to compare. We can go historically and say, what was EU's share in 2000 until 2010? But you know, the world was different. We had different economic things. So maybe comparing to USA, compared to Japan, there's no FTA. Compared to, I don't know, pick another country, right? Australia, oh, we have an FTA, but, right? So try to figure out, did the FTA really make an impact?
Yeah. That was my.
Right. Now, I don't expect you to do that in this class because I asked you guys to do a 7 to 10 minute presentation. Everybody's doing 20. But good job. Don't be shy to do this. My only complaint, and yes, I know you're in the hospital and working off a phone. Actually, that makes me ask a question. How did you make this PowerPoint? On your phone?
I use it my left hand, and then the typing was difficult. That's why I copied.
On computer?
What?
On computer or on phone?
On laptop.
Okay, you have a laptop. Okay, that explains it. All right. Yeah, you did a good job. Thank you very much. We're going to close your PowerPoint unless there's something else you want to say.
I want to say like the other students all did their presentation, like a book presentation, book review, right? But I was not able to do that. But I'm going to do video recording, like 20 minutes or like that.
Okay.
But not now. But we have like exams. But after finish it, like until I don't know, maybe 7 or like next Monday probably.
Before December 20. December
Yeah.
20 is Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. Put it up on the e-board so that everybody can see it, and send me a message, or you could share it on the cookout. That's fine. And send me a message. So
I'm going to do that.
all right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's good. Thank you. I'm gonna close your PowerPoint. That's all right. And so what we have learned is that, let's get the Zoom share. Farhan, you ready? And you wanted to do the presentation mode, and it seems to be working. Yes, you may.
Heated? Yeah, but I don't know. My feet are getting cold. Which one is working? This one or this one?
You live here too. You can turn it on. I just turned it on. I think there's
Which one? I don't know.
Well, I push this one, and then you should make it front one. There's only one controller. It should work for both, I think. Anyway, it's all yours. Since you're sitting there, I'll sit you here. Shouldn't sit too close, because your husband will be jealous. We're going long today. But I'm actually very happy. You guys have done very well.
Maybe your expectation
Would
high.
you be so kind as to erase the chalkboard? Oh, except one thing. There's one last thing at the very top. It says Toastmasters. Don't erase that. Farhan, you hear?
Yeah.
The Toastmaster. Yeah. This is not respectful. Talk more nicely.
So yes. This one.
No. I'll talk about it at the end.
This one.
Yeah, everything except Toastmaster. No, it's not great. It's a good idea, but it's the other kind of toast. Look at me.
Like this toast.
Cheers.
Cheers toast.
It's that toast. Oh, minus point. You wrote South Korea with a small s. Koreans will never forgive you.
First mistake.
Now one pen.
Red pen.
My mistakes.
Go ahead. That's okay. We'll look for more.
So, hello everyone. My name is Farhan Ali, and today's my topic of presentation is impact of Korean electricity.
Slow down. Speak louder.
Today, my topic about my presentation topic is Korea import of electronic industry in Korea. So, after the successful plan of Korean economic development in 1962 to 1966, Korea is looking for a next 5-year plan. So, at that time, Mr. Kim.
If you want, you can move that monitor to another place. Yeah, as you like.
Was it second 5-year plan?
Yes.
Yeah, you just said a second. Okay, go ahead.
So at that time, Mr. Kim Ki-yong suggested a plan. First of all, I would like to talk about this person, Mr. Kim Ki-yong. He has a degree in chemical science from National Seoul University, and he did his PhD from the Peninsula State University in 1961. So he worked in different organizations in the United States. He came back to South Korea in 1966 in summer. So at that time, he was a researcher in the Electronic Ceramic Institute in United States. When he came back to South Korea, he did several interviews to the newspaper about the electronic industry. Electronic industry future in South Korea. After maybe hearing or reading his interview, Ministry of Commerce and Industry invite him to to share his insight about the electronic industry. When he meet with the electronic Ministry of the Commerce and Industry officials, he talked about a book called 10-year electronic 10-year Japan electronic industry plan. So we talk about that book for his reference, and then he asked that he would like to go for a visit to a well-developed country for in the sake of science and development and electronic advancement to see on President Park Chung-hee instructions. So then he go to different countries, and then he came back and he suggested the 5-year electronic industry promotion plan. So Ministry of Commerce and Industry announced its 5-year plan in December 5th, 1961. It's called the 5-year electronic industry plan. So in this year, when he came back, he was Mr. Kim Ki-yong. At that time, he's a PhD holder. We can say that Dr. Kim. His younger brother at that time is in the Deputy Commissioner Office, Deputy Prime Minister Office as an assistant. So maybe he got a little help from his brother to get in the government. So in 1966, the total export of Korean economy at that time is $250 million, and from that amount there is just a $3.6 million export of electronic industry. So they made a plan, 5-year plan, and expected to grow their export by 3.6 million in 1966 to 20.51 million in next year, in 1967, and then 46.9 million in 1968, and till the 100 million at the end of the 1971. So to achieve this plan, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry choose different companies. There are 21 companies that are targeted for the export for this export electronic industry. Among the Gold Star and the Dongnam Electronics. The Gold Star is the old name for LG. So these are the companies, 21 companies. Can you read?
This is what you're stuck with. Yeah, this is all right.
Yeah. So if you can see in the chart, all items are listed, but only 3 companies are dealing with televisions. So I was first going to talk about all the way television, but I couldn't find the inner stuff. So it's just for the reference. At that time, Samsung is not in the industry for electronics. So because Samsung reached in electronics since 1969. But these are the plan for the expectation to how these are the target for the each company to compete compete his export every year. So the highest expectation is expected from the Korea Micro company with the 3,448.5 million dollar. So no, sorry, won. That time they made the chart with the one.
No, go back.
So
Wait, stop.
yes,
Look at the top of your chart. What does it say?
target export target in 5-year electronic industry promotion plan 1967.
Next line
US
down.
dollars, sorry. US
Okay, wait, not US dollars, thousands of US
thousands
dollars.
of US dollars. That was the expectation. When I
So
was
basically,
doing
you're,
this,
if it says 17,000, that really means $17 million, okay? Because it add 3 zeros.
yes. So
Okay.
this-
That's fine.
The
Now you go
highest means that 3,448.5 thousand million. Thousand US dollar, not million, just thousand US dollar. In other words, we can say that 34 million 44.
That's it. 34 million something.
Something.
All right, that's good.
So actually this plan not like a 5-year plan. It extended more than 5 years. It has 2 phases. The basic plan was this to export that electronic to increase the export of electronic industry. So Ministry of Commerce and Industry selected 95 items for the production. For 54 electronic devices, 29 electronic component, and 12 electronic material parts companies. So the first phase, you can see 1967 to 1971 was not go as they expected. Somehow they increased the plan, and they call the second phase. But those companies who did well in the last 5-year plan, they give in the next phase in 1967 to 1976. Like the plan goes all the way 1967 to 1976. So the second plan was 1972 to 1976. In the second plan, government funded those companies who did great in the past 5 years. There was a total promotion fund of 14 billion won, from which 12.4 billions or billion won goes to the production or manufacturing industry, and the other 1.6 billion Korean won goes to the research institute and the promotional agencies. So these are the GDP graph of 1970 to 2015. So as you can see that that time in 1977, the graph rate of the GDP is like near to zero. It's 0.08% in exact. And the manufacturing, so sorry for the black line shows the electronic manufacturing, and the blue line shows the GDP, the impact of the electronic industry on the GDP. Because, yes. So in terms of the percentage, in 1960, 1970s, the electronic production, electronic industry manufacturing percentage is like 1.04%, and it's near to zero, and the GDP is near to zero, like 0.08% to be exact. And in terms of money in the electronic industries, money like in 1970 is 59 billion won, and it goes all the way up in 2015 to its 126,345 billion won. That's a lot of money. As compared to the in 1970, it goes 2141 times higher than that in 1971 to the in 2015. So the GDP also increased 22 times during this half century. So the main because if you see in 1970 to around 1992, it's like a not normal curve for our growth. But after the at that time, the electronic industry in 1992 is 6.23% in the manufacturing, and the impact of this industry into the GDP is 1.18% in the whole share. And the if I go in terms of money, it will be very fuzzy because there is a lot of long numbers.
I have a question for you before you go further.
Yes.
All right. On this chart,
Yeah.
on the left side,
Is the
axis,
percentage.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 is percentage.
Percentage. And these.
But wait a second. So where is the GDP line?
This is the blue line. Is the
No. Where is the axis for GDP?
There is this line shows that the impact of the electronic industry.
No. Wait, stop. The blue line is electronics industry ratio against GDP.
Yeah.
Got that?
Okay.
The top line
Is the manufacturing.
is manufacturing what? What are we counting?
Electronic industry.
What are we counting?
All manufacturing.
What are we counting? Dollars? Items? What are we counting?
Sorry, I didn't get.
What is the number?
In terms of money, you want.
I don't know. You have a line. I'm asking what is the line?
The line.
The black line.
The line shows that export their manufacturing share.
Compared to what?
In the GDP.
No, that's the blue line.
Blue line, and this
What is
shows
the black line?
manufacturing of export. The percentage of of the total export of the Korea, the percentage in this 6.23% in the total export was electronic industry. But
Okay, wait, stop. I think you just answered my question, but you're not clear. The top line is the electronic industry share compared to all exports.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to speak more clearly.
Sure.
The bottom line is electronic share versus GDP.
In the total GDP,
But slow down. You're talking too fast. In the total, no, slow down.
the total GDP, sorry, the share on the GDP. Yes. Come.
Yes, come in, have a seat.
Can I join?
Come in, have a seat.
On the track.
All right, you gotta speak clearly so we understand what you're talking about, because we can't read the labels. The labels are too small.
Yeah.
All right.
It's labeled
Go ahead.
electronic industry. The black line shows the percentage of electronic industry in the total export, and the blue line shows the total percentage of electronic export income on the GDP. In the total GDP, there's 1.8.
Okay, got it. Now you can go forward.
And okay, so here I would like to say.
Slow down,
Here
speak clearly.
I would like to say something about the television industry. Sorry, yes, so the 5-year plan. In the 5-year plan, they encountered Dr. Kim encountered many difficulties, very many challenges. The sum of are the lack of development resources in Korea. The small scale companies engaged in the electronic industry. The small companies are getting engaged with the electronic industry, and insufficient and there is a lack of information gathering and analyzing system. They just bought foreign technology and skilled worker, but they don't work on the information and analyze that information for their future development. And these are the issues, some of the issues that countered by the Dr. Kim in his research. So next, so these are the total export graph. I took it from the trading economy from all time. They have that information they have all time. So in 1988, there is like a 10 billion. The total export of electronic equipment is 10 billion in terms of US dollar. So they are continuously rising in the next two decades, and the highest they go in 2018. The amount is 185 billion approximately. And at that time, there in 19, this graph is till 2019, till 2019. So at that time, that they had the total export in electronic equipment and electric is 153.63 billion US dollar. So these are the production and market size of global electronic industry. In this chart are figures from the 2017, and you can see that Korea countered sorry. in Korea was at the 11th position in 1980s, and that time Korea don't have the television industry inside. They make television, color television to export, but they don't use it in. They cannot able to sell in the home country, and this is some sort of true. So it goes all the way. Like Korea then goes in around 1995 on the 7th position, and now at this time Korea is on the 3rd in the production market of electronics. So if we want to see that how much market size Korea export cover, and it's Korea Korea covered 50.5 billion US dollar market, and it's the fifth in number. The highest is China in the export and as well as in the market size. But as compared to Japan and Germany, South Korea has a less market size because they have the biggest production unit. Here I feel difficulty to explain like which part, if they are producing like 121.7 billion US dollar in the production, and they sell just 50.5 billion US dollar.
Okay, that's easy.
Professor, may I ask one question?
Okay.
Yeah, later.
No, go ahead, ask now. You're a teacher. Students ask questions.
So, is it global market size?
Yeah, global market in the whole.
Okay, so the answer for your question is production size is how much do we make.
Yeah, and they just
Market size is how much do we buy. So if you put the two numbers together, you would say that Korea is exporting 71. Yeah.
Like how long is it gone?
About another 15 minutes. Do you have another class coming in?
Yeah, maybe it's another 15 to the lecture about system, but it will take some.
Are they in this class?
Yeah, that
They come at 4:30. Give us 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
Yeah.
I will just use another.
Okay.
It's okay.
I know they start at 4:30, so every day they're coming in. Okay, so anyway, the difference is 70 million of production is going out of the country. We can only buy 50 million. We make 120 million. 70 million is exported. So we export more than we buy ourselves.
They
Yeah.
need the market size.
No. Market size is how much we can buy. How much we bought last year.
Okay.
Production is how much we made. We made a lot more than we buy. Therefore, we export. Now, reverse it. Look at US. The market size is $425 million. Billion dollars, excuse me. But the US only made $234 billion. That means the US imported roughly $200 billion of products from Korea, from China, from wherever, right? You can see China has $682 billion production, but only 470. That means they're exporting $210 billion worth of goods. That's how you read it. It's a very, very nice chart. I'm impressed you found it. I'm probably going to steal that. Go ahead.
So it's almost the end of my
Yeah,
presentation.
that's good because they want us out of here. Keep going. That's a nice chart.
Yeah, I think it's all.
Anything else for PowerPoint?
And these
Oh,
are my
sources.
sources.
1, 2, 3,
Four.
4. Okay.
I read many, also read many different sites, but I didn't include it because some of the information I spoke may be related to their sites. But most of the slides contain these information from these.
Okay.
Like the information that Korea, in 1988, Korea made color TV, but cannot sail in their home country.
In 1988 is the year you could buy. Before 1988, you could not buy a color TV. In 1988, the
No.
government had color
They
TV.
don't have even color broadcasting.
No, in 1988 they did because of the Olympics.
1988. I'm talking about 1980.
Clarity and speech. I heard you say every time 1988. What did you hear? 88 or 80? I kept hearing 88.
Oh, sorry.
And 88 is the Olympics and they had color
Yeah,
TV.
but in 1980,
1980 did not sell color TV.
highly invested, like they ordered the TV industry,
Mhm.
electronic industry of sector TV.
Yes, yes.
Produced 1 million set of television.
Remember we talked about this a few weeks ago
Yeah.
when we said that you manage domestic consumption, you keep expectations low, that way you can export more because we need to make money. So don't let people know that something is available. North Korea is doing the same thing right now,
Yeah.
right? They don't let people know about stuff, that way they won't want it.
The most important, one little point important point, after his presentation of the plan of 5 years, President Park Chung-hee appointed him as a ministry of as a minister in the Ministry of Science and Technology in 1967.
That of the Minister of Technology.
Yes.
Remember we talked about how Bang Chung-hee surrounded himself with technocrats, lots of people who did their education in the US, and therefore they brought a US model for the economy. And he's a good example. Yeah. Although I didn't know that name in particular, I know the story, but I didn't know the name. So thanks for that.
Dr. Park Kim Hee-young.
Yeah. Anything else?
So your
So
topic was,
thank you for it.
your topic was impact of electronics in South Korea, especially particularly TV, yes?
Not, I just broadened the industry. I covering the whole industry, not especially the TV. But I just give a little bit information about the television industry. But I couldn't find a specific information to talk about just TV.
So actually, I expected
Television?
no another thing, another information, but you give us a lot of statistics and numbers. You explained these numbers.
What do you
Comparing
expect
with-
it from?
Other countries in global.
So you are saying you want a comparison?
No,
This is the comparison.
I think she's saying you did a good job.
So say in a clear word, if you don't use the same.
So I expected you will give some information about certain type of technology. I expected it.
Yeah, I have
don't want
a
to say it
television.
was not good. It was excellent, but I expected another thing.
Yeah,
Some
but-
different way.
For your expectation, I think maybe I have a.
We have to get out of here soon, so I need to.
He said he changed the rule.
Yeah, but I still need to get out of here soon. So go ahead and close that.
Just I will show the picture to these the technology of television. All the
Bro, I have a question. There you go.
Wait, stop. Go ahead.
Yes.
The question, can you go back your presentation?
Like,
Like, yeah. Here's like one graph, right? Yeah, this one. Like, go back. Yeah, this one. Here's South Korea exports electrical and equipments, right?
yeah.
So my question is that they here like it started from 1987, right? So the question is that the firstly they made like a import substitution like other business, or like firstly it started to like to export. The question is that.
Please say that again because you got interrupted.
Like, so the question is that their first goal was like a import substitution, like other businesses or the export?
Their first 5-year plan was to encourage the import and develop their economy. And in the
Please do like this, bro.
and this information I got from the training economy.com, and they just have the data till 1988. They don't have the past data. So I talk about the past data that their what expected. I already show in the table, previous table here, their expectation of the export
Yeah.
target, and what their export at that time is in 1970, and because the electronic industry basically started in 1967, but there is a, you can say, the duration of planning, and we calculate the export of electronic industry starting from the 1970. So in 1970, they had the export of 59 billion won.
Okay, wait, that's just the plan, that's not actual.
No, these figures are the actual figures.
Oh, your figure here, because these figures here.
No, these are the expectations.
Okay,
And these figures are the accurate.
right, okay.
That was a 5-year plan expectations, right? Not
Yeah.
the really done.
Yes. So did I ask, give you an answer?
Yes, you did partially.
Kind of sort of. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Not the accurate one, but kind of sort of. Well,
And
thank you.
Thanks. So what we need to do now, we're over time, and this is our last class meeting. It was a good presentation. Once you started to slow down.
Yes.
Because when you're talking like this, you're very good.
Sometimes, Professor, I do.
Well, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. All right, so this kind of chart, if you introduce it clearly, it can say so much, and you don't need to talk.
Yes.
All right. The key point was that you've got words here, but it's small enough that I'm sitting there, I can't see it. So you need to say very clearly, this black line, or whatever color it is, right? This is the share of the electronics industry versus the entire export market of Korea.
Yes.
Boom. The blue line is the electronic industry share in GDP. Clearly and succinctly. Now, what's the problem with this? You're comparing export to GDP. Yes, ma'am. You have a question?
I'm tired of sitting.
Okay, no problem. No problem. I'm not angry. I asked you to give me something.
So what's
You're pregnant, you need to go to the restroom. Oh, yeah. You need to stand? Okay. So that would be the clarity. Because GDP is domestic, but export is export. This is kind of like apples and oranges.
yes, because they started sailing in their homeland after 80s.
Right.
So that's why it's
Well, TV, but other electronics. They had radios in Korea since the 1950s. Those were always legal. It was TVs didn't come until the 1970s, and color TVs didn't come until I think it was 86, but it might have been 87. Anyway, preparing for the Olympics, they were really pushing Koreans now. The economy's getting better. We want to encourage people to buy more TVs. So starting in 86 or 87, they said, you should buy a color TV so that you can watch our country in color. If you know, or maybe you don't know, 1986 was the Asian Games in Incheon. And it was kind of a practice, a dress rehearsal for the Olympics of 88. So the first pre-Olympics was 86, and I think they had a little bit of color TV there, but basically only Asian character. 88 was the world was coming to Korea, we want to look good, and they were encouraging people to buy color TVs to help promote the market. like that chart. This one, what I would have suggested, it's fine as it is. I might have cut it in half. Now, you're a student, you didn't have enough time. I didn't ask you to make a beautiful PowerPoint, so you're stuck with this. And that's okay. But what would have been nice is to take a few of these, boom, 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 make a chart, compare the targets with the actuals. But again, I'm not asking for you. I asked you guys to do 7 to 10 minutes, and all of you did more than 20. All right, and you had lots of good information. I'm very, very happy with your presentation. I'm not complaining.
How can I say, includes a lot of information.
Well, part of the challenge is finding the right information to talk about and knowing when to, as I said to you, stop talking, right? Explain the two charts, help people read the years, because it starts 1970, it runs through 2011.
It's 2014.
2014.
Right.
But yeah, okay, up through 2015. So you might say, 19, I might have drawn something here to show like 1999 or 1998, the IMF impact, which would be here. And actually, we don't see a problem, except that this took off 1997. Why? Because the economy overall died, but the exports to USA and Europe kept going. That meant the share, even if the dollar sales didn't change, the rest of the economy, so it made the percentage much higher. So this took off because of the IMF, the crashing of the domestic economy meant that the electronic share rose dramatically, but we don't know what the actual dollar value is. That's why I asked you over here, what is this access? Access. So when you start your presentation, describe your lines and describe your axes. This is year 1970 to 2015. This is percent of. The last thing I want to say, Toastmaster. Okay. Toastmaster is a global, we could call it club. But what it is a place where people go to learn how to speak well. Think toast as in, I give you a toast to the bride and groom. It's a place where you learn to do public speaking. And they teach you things like how to do visual aids, and they spit on PowerPoint.
A lot of people.
Well, in your club meetings, there might be 8 or 12 people. And they're all supportive because this week, you guy, and you guy are talking. And next meeting in 2 weeks, you guy, and you guy are talking. So we're all sitting and we have little kind of scoring sheets. And we say, what I want to work on, please help me. And somebody would say, so speak a little slower, speak a little louder. You have an accent like this. Be careful of certain words. I'm teasing, okay? I'm joking. Yes. You know that the Indians, they have a tendency to talk like this, right? With the head and the musical, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only challenge is that a foreigner might not understand some of your words. Yes. Those are the parts to worry about, not to erase an Indian accent, but to make sure that your audience understands what you're talking about. So those are the words to focus on. Toastmasters is free. I mean, there's a kind of a club do, like, because we all have coffee and cake, and so one person is buying coffee and cake, but everybody shares the price, right?
Is it location or is it group?
No, you find out it's a club, it's social.
Where is it?
It's all over. Look it up online to find out where the meetings are. Sambulman. Okay, look it up online. There is I know there are 2 clubs in Busan. I don't know if there's a club in Daegu. Most Toastmasters in Korea are actually in Korean, but there are a few English-speaking clubs. And I can ask a friend, if there is an English-speaking Toastmaster club in Daegu. I do not know. My father was in Toastmasters. I never was because I've always been a fairly good speaker, and I took a speech class in university. But anyway, it might be something to think about, because if you are an independent businessman, woman, or if you're working in a corporation and you're doing presentations, your speaking is everything. PowerPoint is not the presentation. It is only the support to help explain. And sometimes one picture says everything, and sometimes a few words are there to help people who are more visual instead of more oral. And I told you, I'm a visual learner, right? I like to see something and go, got it, and I hear this in my ear, but I see something and then suddenly that and the visual and the oral connect, and suddenly it's but in 1972, because that's the part that connected. So you try to give people more than one way. Don't be the professor that sits there and reads his book to you, or stands here and reads his PowerPoint to you. Don't do that. Make them compliment. The professor who walks around who says, how many of you guys have a car? Why did I do that? Because the visualization of a car key can help you understand I'm talking about a car, if in case you were starting to doze off, your cacao popped up, and suddenly, oh, car, oh, I like cars, talk to me, professor. So you use different things to get people to look. So the young lady walks up, I'm joking here, the young lady walks up and she can choose what she wants to wear in her public speaking, right? She could wear a very long, formal, black, loose, business type suit dress, you know, the skirt and the jacket. Or she could go in wearing, looks like a cocktail dress, you know, that's really tight, that shows every inch of her bum and every inch of her, right? Now you know the guys are going to be looking at her and not listening to her presentation, right? Their brain has gone somewhere else in their body. By the way, are you married? Yeah. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Right.
Don't ask me.
I don't need to ask, you're already a guy. So wearing that beautiful, sexy, sleek and alluring cocktail dress is probably not the best way to get somebody to listen to your presentation. On the other hand, if you go up looking frumpy, you know, like the housewife with 3 noisy children, who when she gets up in the morning until she goes to bed at night, she has no time to put on lipstick, you know, and she's wearing loose, comfortable clothes because she knows baby's gonna burp on her. That's probably not the way you want to look either. There's things you do to improve your presentation. I need to stop this. By the way, I liked your TV show. I thought that was cool.
But I collected